Yo, what's going on, everybody? We are here live on the channel, breaking down the latest around your favorite football team, the Minnesota Vikings. We got a lot to talk about today, specifically around the quarterback position and J.J. McCarthy. What are the Vikings going to do with him? And also, could they be going out there and trading for a guy like Mac Jones? The rumors are starting to heat up with the combine starting next Tuesday. But let me toss this question your guys' way here first. Should J.J. McCarthy be QB1 next season for our Minnesota Vikings? Give me a Y for yes or an N for no down below in the comment section. Haven't been live here in a while. I think the last time we went live I saw was for when the Vikings fired GM Kwesi Adofo-Mensah. So it's been a minute, and I'm excited to be back. We got the real ones already in the building. Connor Vikings in the house. Dan Ed in the building. Reed Southern, Lego Fella in the house. Jonathan, Lego saying it's been a while. It definitely has been a while. And a lot more has came out around our favorite football team. As Jesse Darby in the building saying, you know what's going to be funny? They bring in somebody and JJ out, plays all of them, and all takes us to the Super Bowl. I'm going to be like I told you, so I'm rolling with what Fran already said about the kid. Talking about Fran Tarkin. Now, I did not see what Fran said about J.J. McCarthy. But if you have that, just let me know. Dan Mad, what's going on? Saying, give us a scoop. Shout out to you. But I do have some big news here. Producer Dylan, it is his birthday. So if you guys could give Dylan those HBDs down below in the live chat. Dylan turning the big year of 24. Dylan, happy birthday, my friend.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, give those HBDs to Dylan. I'm going to look up here. Best Viking ever to wear 24.
I think Bynum was last year, right?
Bynum, yeah. Robert Griffith. Yeah, Captain Munnerlyn from 2014 to 2016. Dwight Smith. You know, we'll say Dylan's in his Cam Bynum year. I think Dylan's entering his Cam Bynum year. So if you guys could, give Dylan those happy birthdays down below. Does great work here on the channel. All the stuff you guys see behind the scenes, it is all Dylan making the magic happen. So give me those HBDs down below. But also, shout out to Dylan's mom. Dylan's mom got Dylan some Vikings trivia cards for his birthday. So we have a whole stack of Vikings trivia cards here. And any super chat we get today, I'll ask you guys a question. We've done trivia on the channel here a whole bunch during the season. So if you guys could, send us a super chat and shout out to Dylan's mom. Thank you so much. We'll get some Vikings trivia going here on the channel. We'll ask you guys some good questions about our Minnesota Vikings. But shout out to Lego Fellow saying SKOL Dylan's mom. Love that. JJ saying happy birthday, Dylan. Jane saying happy birthday, Dylan. Connor Viking saying sup, Pat. What's going on, Connor? Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Yeah, we are going to talk about J.J. McCarthy. Aaron Schatz, the guy who came up with the statistic DVOA, he writes for ESPN, and he actually had the Vikings saying that a new what was the exact words here? A fresh start could be good for J.J. McCarthy, which, got a little thoughts on that. I wonder if J.J. McCarthy's camp would be open to a fresh start, so we'll talk about that. But our guy Dan Matt coming in with a $20 super chat, spelling Dylan like Dylan Thieneman. In the super chat saying, have a damn good day. Shout out to Dan Matt. We'll get that up on screen here in a second. But let me ask you guys this. First trivia question here. If you guys are just tuning in, it is Dylan's birthday. Shout out to Dill Dog. But what Vikings quarterback holds the team's career record for fumbles with 81? What Vikings quarterback holds the team's career record for fumbles with 81 total? First trivia question of the day.
These are some tough ones.
You guys let me know. First one to get it. As Theo, be careful. Got it. Dante Culpepper. No, not Max Brosmer in his 3 stars so far, Lego fella. That's pretty funny. You know what? Since he sent it 20, we'll do another one. All right, I'll ask you guys this. What Vikings kicker led the league in total field goals made in 2012 and 2015? What Vikings kicker led the league in total field goals made in 2012 and 2015? You guys chime in down below. We want Max Brosmer. Shout out to Reed Southern. Ryan Longwell? No, it was not Ryan Longwell. Will the Thrill? No. Yeah, Horius getting it right. It was unfortunately Blair Walsh. Never forget, Blair Walsh looked like one of the best kickers in the league, and then that 27-yarder he missed against the Seattle Seahawks just completely derailed his career. I mean, he lost all confidence after that kick. I'm pretty sure he's I'm pretty sure he's in sales now in the Minnesota area. Funny enough, I remember seeing his LinkedIn page. But yeah, Blair Walsh led the NFL in field goals made in 2012 and 2015. So yeah, every super chat we get today, we'll do some Vikings trivia here on the channel. But let's dive into the first segment. We're going to be talking about a potential J.J. McCarthy trade there, and then also a Mac Jones trade for the Vikings is heating up. Their Athletic beat reporter wrote up an interesting article, so I do want to talk about that as well on today's show. And then also we will have a mailbag in about 30 or 40 minutes or so. So get those questions in there. Hashtag Vikings. And if you guys are ready to rock and roll here on the show, go down there, hit that thumbs up icon. We only got 10 likes on today's live show. If you guys could help us out, let's get to 20 likes and we can dive into it. Talk about a potential J.J. McCarthy trade. Also some talk about Jalen Nailor, Eric Wilson, probably the two biggest Vikings free agents they have. Heading into free agency starting here on March 9th. So if you guys could hit that thumbs up icon for us, and let's dive into it. If you guys are ready to rock and roll, hit that thumbs up button, and let's talk about it. Could a J.J. McCarthy trade be on the table this offseason? We're going to talk about it on today's edition of Vikings Out by Chat Sports. Appreciate all the real ones for tuning in. And then also on the second half of today's show, Jalen Nailor. What is his contract going to look like during free agency? We got some good projections coming up here in just a second. Let's start off with what Aaron Schatz had to say in a recent ESPN article. If you guys don't know, Aaron Schatz was the person who came up with the statistic DVOA, but he was talking about some players in the NFL that could use a new change of scenery, and he said this about McCarthy, saying this is likely never going to happen because it would be ridiculous for the Vikings to unload a player who still has first-round upside after 10 starts. However, a fresh start for McCarthy with a different organization might be the best thing for his career. Yes, you want a young quarterback to be with an offensive mind, such as Minnesota coach Kevin O'Connell, for the purposes of his development. However, things went so badly for the Vikings with McCarthy last season that it might be best to get him out of the shadow of Super Bowl winner Sam Darnold. Now, I think in terms of the Vikings trading J.J. McCarthy, this makes absolutely no sense. Like, whatever your thoughts on J.J. McCarthy are, whether you think this guy is, the biggest bust of all time and he's in Jamarcus Russell territory and he's just completely done product, he's stamped, he's a bust, it still doesn't make any sense for the Vikings to trade him because unless you are getting a top 10 quarterback in this building, like a Joe Burrow potentially, or maybe somehow Justin Herbert, but none of these guys are going to happen, then you hang on to J.J. McCarthy. Because even if you are bringing in a guy like Kyler Murray, or you somehow bring in, Geno Smith, Kirk Cousins, Mac Jones, whoever it may be, you still want to have that young quarterback who you spent the 10th overall pick on, even if he is not the starter this season, still want him in this quarterback room. You still want him develop behind the scenes, see if he can turn out to be something at some point in his NFL career. Now, the one thing I do wonder, though, would J.J. McCarthy's camp want this? Like, if you really asked, like, his agent, his quarterback coach, and himself, and you came to him and said, hey, with all the noise around you, would you want a fresh start somewhere else? Like, all right, let's just say this hypothetical. What if the 49ers offered Mac Jones straight up for J.J. McCarthy, which I forget who was talking about it, but they made a good point that maybe both sides would have some interest there. Would McCarthy's camp have interest in that? I have doubts that they would, but maybe if they want to get out of the shadows of Sam Darnold, then they just want a completely fresh start, kind of like what Aaron was saying, how disastrous it was this past season, maybe they would have some interest. Now, I wonder also this, Kevin O'Connell's side of things. Does Kevin O'Connell want J.J. McCarthy in the building? Or is he completely done with him? Like, it's KOC saying that, hey, this kid, I can't fix his mechanics. He's incredibly inaccurate. We had to completely switch up our offensive playbook this past year, pretty much remove all over the middle of the field throws from our playbook because this guy couldn't execute my offense at a high level whatsoever. Even if they bring in Kyler Murray, would KOC still want to have to, give attention to J.J. McCarthy as a backup, or does he just want that veteran? Does he want that guy in the NFL with a bunch of experience in the room? I would have some question marks there. But you guys let me know this. A third-round pick for J.J. McCarthy, would you do it? I would not. I think probably – I honestly don't know what his market would be right now. Maybe a second and a fifth. I mean, you still spent the top 10 pick on the guy, and he's only had 10 starts. With his injury history, I probably would think a third-round pick would be fair. But you guys, let me know. Would you trade J.J. McCarthy for a third-round pick? Give me a Y for yes or an N for no. Now, I do want to talk about all these J.J. McCarthy reports here real quick because all this stuff is coming out for a reason. I mean, even dating back to the Super Bowl week and Media Row, and you had guys like Aaron Jones, you had guys like Justin Jefferson talking about J.J. McCarthy, and they're all pretty much throwing him under the bus without completely throwing him under the bus. And we get this report from Alec Lewis that the Vikings had to limit their playbook. We're having everybody chime in on J.J. McCarthy, and all these reports are coming out of somewhere. In my opinion, they're coming out for a reason. And I still think Kevin O'Connell, his PR team, it is the best in the National Football League. Some speculation here. I could see some of these reports be coming from Kevin O'Connell and his team for trying to save face for how disastrous it was this past season. Like, it was terrible offensively. Does KOC want any of that blame? Absolutely not. He's going to want to go put that on his young quarterback, J.J. McCarthy, and be like, oh, I couldn't even run my full offense because of the quarterback we had under center. Now, also, this coming out from Jeremy Fowler I thought was interesting. My sense right now from asking around is that all of the top quarterbacks that will be or could be available, Minnesota is the place they would want to go because of what you have with Justin Jefferson, Kevin O'Connell, a lot of pieces in place. And I do agree with what Jeremy Fowler's saying here. I think just like the support system that the Vikings have of having the best wide receiver in the league, of having a top 15 offensive play caller in Kevin O'Connell, you still got two really good offensive tackles in O'Neal and Darisaw. You have a good foundation for a young quarterback. But why is that coming out? Maybe it's just Jeremy Fowler hearing from guys like Mac Jones, from Anthony Richardson, from any of these quarterbacks that are out there on the market right now that they would like to come to Minnesota. And I do believe that because some other teams that need quarterbacks, like the New York Jets, the Arizona Cardinals potentially, like obviously the Vikings are a better landing spot for the quarterback position because they also probably saw Sam Darnold had a great year. Daniel Jones, even though he didn't play, he was working behind the scenes and he got a lot done and he took a huge step in his career. But it's just interesting that that's coming out. And also, Jared Allen. He was talking with Kay Adams recently. And, Jared Allen, if you guys know, in press conferences, he is just very, very blatantly honest. He will just tell you exactly how he's feeling. And he says, can the kid, McCarthy, stay healthy? If you're waiting for JJ to mature by year 5, 6, 7, all of a sudden, Justin Jefferson is 10 to 12 years in. If you can't stay healthy, you can't stay the starter. And this is now the second Vikings legend to throw shade at J.J. McCarthy. If you guys remember Chris Carter during the season, he was on Twitter talking a lot of noise about J.J., pretty much just saying he's just not an NFL quarterback at this point. And now Jared Allen is kind of throwing some shade at J.J. McCarthy. Now, I thought the point Jared Allen made about saying that, like, hey, Justin Jefferson, if you wait for McCarthy to develop, he's going to be past his prime when J.J. finally gets that spot where you feel like he is a top 15 quarterback in the league. And I think the Justin Jefferson cloud over this J.J. McCarthy situation is completely real. Like, who is the most important player on this football team? Who is the most well-known football player? Who is the one who has the highest amount of jersey sales in this entire organization? It's Justin Jefferson. He is in the peak of his powers right now. He is 26 years old. He is coming off a year where he played all 17 games and only had 1,000 yards. That has to be eating at Jefferson. I think if you replicate this 2025 season in 2026, where the Vikings go 9-8, they miss the playoffs, and he has 1,000 yards, Jefferson's going to demand a trade. Maybe we won't ever get the report that Jefferson demanded a trade because I'm assuming he'll go behind closed doors, talk to the Vikings organization, and just it'll be a bombshell trade where we didn't really see it coming, and he gets traded to like the Chiefs or the Bills or something. But I just think Jefferson would get extremely frustrated if the season they had last year happens again. And also, I think it is so clear with all these reports coming out that Kevin O'Connell knows he was wrong about J.J. McCarthy. And I'm going to have some of my guys at Chat Sports who are at the Combine this week. The number one question I want them to ask Kevin O'Connell is if his evaluation of J.J. McCarthy has changed since the 2024 NFL Draft. I think the answer is obviously yes, but I just want to see how Kevin O'Connell would try to dance around it. And, he's obviously the GOAT at coach talk here in the National Football League, but I would just be curious to see what he had to say because I think his evaluation has changed extremely because we were getting reports that's like, oh, KOC, yes, he loved Caleb Williams, but obviously the Vikes had no chance, but Drake May was his guy, and then number 2 is J.J. McCarthy. So I want to ask him if his evaluation has changed here. So we'll dive into more around the Vikes here in just a second, but if you guys are subscribed to the channel, want to give some love to the real ones, just give me those skulls down below. We'll show you guys up on the show here in the near video, give you guys some shout outs there. So if you guys are subscribed to the channel, just give me those skulls down below. And also, St. Patrick's Day just around the corner. And if you guys want to rock some Vikings Now merch and get the Minnesota Drinking Team t-shirt line, just head to chatsports.com/VikingsGreen. These t-shirts are going for $29.99 right now. I got the link for you guys in the comments section and description of today's show, but we're finally coming out with merch here on the channel. And if you guys want to rock some Chat Sports gear, I would greatly appreciate it. It really does help us out. I think the design is sweet. And you guys can rock these for St. Patrick's Day, or you guys could get the black option and just go Minnesota Drinking Team. Pretty much Vikings fans, we drink our sorrows away every single Sunday, so I think it would be a good option there. So chatsports.com/VikingsGreen, $29.99 right now. All right, let's close out today's show talking about Jalen Nailor and Eric Wilson. Now, The Athletic, they put out a recent article diving into all 150 free agents here in the National Football League, and they gave contract projections for every single free agent. Actually, pretty shocking here. Jalen Nailor came in at 29. I thought that was a tad high, but they did have his contract projection at 3 years, $36 million. Now, on all contract projections, this is just my biggest gripe with anybody who's doing contract projections. This has nothing to do with the Vikings, just NFL media as a whole. Put guaranteed money in your contract projection. Is this 3 years, 36 with $30 million guaranteed? That's probably too much for Nailor. Is this 3 for 36 with 18 guaranteed, 20 guaranteed? Probably just about right. Like the 3 for 36 number, especially with void years and how they structure these NFL contracts, it all matters about the guaranteed money. So that's my one gripe with this. But 3 for 36, that's a good amount of money for Jalen Nailor. But this is what Daniel Popper of The Athletic had to say, saying Nailor's production does not jump off the screen. The 2026 sixth-round pick had a career-high 444 receiving yards in 2025, but Nailor is playing behind Jefferson and Jordan Addison, and he dealt with poor quarterback play last season. More importantly, the tape shows a player who's ready to take a big jump in the right environment. Now, if Jalen Nailor's asking price is 3 years, $36 million, there's no chance the Vikings cough that up. I mean, just financially, the Vikings are so in the hole right now. They're not going to pay a wide receiver 3 on the football team $12 million per year. That's just not realistic. I love Jalen Nailor. I think he's one of the most underrated players in the National Football League. Him as a wide receiver 3, he is fantastic. I even think he could be a low-end wide receiver 2 in the right situation. But 3 for 36, with how the Vikings are structured financially right now, makes no sense unless you do end up trading Jordan Addison. Then 110%. Give Jalen Nailor what he deserves, $10+ million per year. I mean, he had some splash plays this season, like 50-50 balls. He's got top-end speed. He's a great route runner. And the thing about Nailor that you love the most, for a 6th-round pick, the guy's gotten better every single season. Like, we have seen strides, even though the production's been about the same. But that one catch he had in Detroit, 3rd and 7 to ice the game, 50-50 ball this past season, had that one catch against the Dallas Cowboys that was ridiculous. He had sure hands this entire season. So I think he deserves 10+ a year. I just don't think with how the Vikings are set up right now, you can't pay a wide receiver 3 that much money, especially if you are going to pay Jordan Addison down the line potentially $28 million per year. But let's talk about Eric Wilson here. So their contract projection for Eric Wilson was, again, pretty steep. 3 years, $19.5 million. Now, I think Eric Wilson was one of the unsung heroes of Brian Flores' defense this past season. Him as a blitzing linebacker, like a true traditional linebacker, he had to have been one of the best in the National Football League. And he dominated both games against the Detroit Lions. And this is what Popper had to say about Eric Wilson, saying Wilson is a downhill, off-ball linebacker who can blitz and defend the run. He is more limited as a coverage player. He has sideline-to-sideline speed and attack plays in front of him. Wilson also got some edge work in coordinator Brian Flores' scheme. Wilson is undersized, which limits him when he is asked to take on climbing guards and centers in the run game. So, listen, Eric Wilson, 3 for 19.5. That is a little much for his play. But I think with where the Vikings are at right now, if you don't bring back Eric Wilson, you're going to have to fill that linebacker spot. I would honestly, if it's 3 for 20, I would be honestly more inclined to give him that deal because he knows the system, and plus he excelled in it last year. I mean, his stats are absolutely ridiculous for a traditional linebacker. His pressure rate was 21.9% as a linebacker, 6.5 sacks, had over 100 tackles this season, and he had 17 TFLs plus run stuffs, and he had a splash play rate of 4.9%. That's an unbelievable season. Like, that is a borderline Pro Bowl season for Eric Wilson. So I would do it. I would bring him back. Hopefully you can maybe get him on a 3 for 15 deal. Then it's just $5 million a year for, I don't want to call him like a gadget linebacker, but that's kind of how Flores uses him, where it's just like a juiced up version of what Ivan Pace was for this defense, where he is just either trying to sack the quarterback or he's just running straight after the ball carrier on every single play. Very rarely did we see Eric Wilson just drop back into a typical hook zone coverage. It was either I'm just seeing ball and getting ball. That's how Flores has been using them. So I think that fits about the $5 to $7 million per year price range that he should go for. But you guys tell me, if you guys had to pick one, Eric Wilson or Jalen Nailor, for their contract projections that they're given, I would probably lean Eric Wilson. Just Vikings right now can't pay a wide receiver $12 million per year. So give me Eric Wilson on that one. I'm going to see you guys next time. As always, SKOL Vikes. All right, you guys chime in down below. Pick one to sign here. Eric Wilson or Jalen Nailor. Is Andrew in the building saying if you can't re-sign Wilson, I go after Nakobe Dean. Yeah, Nakobe Dean, kind of same bill as Eric Wilson, same archetype of linebacker. I would also be curious if Vikings would maybe try to target a linebacker on day 2 of the draft, like a Jacob Rodriguez. Even though I think Kyle Lewis is more of like a Josh Metellus type of linebacker, safety, nickel hybrid. Watch out for the Vikings to talk one or target one on that day. But if you guys do got a question for me, drop them down below in the live chat. Mailbag coming up here in about 20 minutes or so. Just use hashtag Vikings or Super Chat to get up on the show. We'll greatly appreciate it if you guys could get a question in there. Also had Rocky coming in with the Super Chat. Shout out to my dad in the building saying, happy birthday, Dylan. Keep up the great work. There you go. Shout out to Rocky, the cutest dog in the Midwest right there. That does mean another question. Also, I was back home in Chicago this past weekend. Rocky has gotten extremely fat. He is 100 pounds now. Still an athlete, but big dog. Let's see. What's a good question here? Okay, this one for the old heads in the chat. Who did the Vikings defeat in the NFC Championship game on December 29th, 1974? Who did the Minnesota Vikings beat in the NFC Championship game December 29th, 1974? Let's see who gets it first. Cowboys? No. They did beat the Cowboys. I think that was 73. 1974. Who did the Vikings beat in the NFC title game? You guys are cold right now. Everybody's scared to answer. The Redskins is incorrect. Yeah, the 49ers, incorrect. It is the Rams. Shout out to Mike, getting it right. The St. Louis Rams. All right, we'll get you guys another one. These are fun. What Vikings Hall of Fame defensive tackle has the nickname Motormouth? What Vikings Hall of Fame defensive tackle had the nickname Motormouth? I did not know this. Does make sense, though. Alan Page? No. Alan Page is not right. What Vikings Hall of Famer had the nickname Motormouth? Yeah, it was John Randall who had it. That's sweet. I didn't know that. All right, screw it. One more. It's too much fun. Oh my God, this is hilarious. Actually, no, that's we already did a Blair Walsh one. Let's see. Some of these are really easy. Some of these are pretty hard. All right, this one's interesting. This one's for the old heads. Some 60s Vikings trivia for you guys. What former first-round running back joined the Vikings in 1962 after spending one season with the Chicago Bears? What former first-round running back joined the Vikings in 1962 after spending one season with the Chicago Bears? The Indiana Bears. Yeah, their Bears are going to Indiana. I don't know if you guys are going to get this one. This is for the 1960s crew. First-round Vikings running back joined the Vikings in 1962 after spending one season with the Chicago Bears. Give you guys 10 seconds, and I'll let you know. I was just seeing if anybody had elite Vikings knowledge in the live chat. Your Gramps would be wrong. All right, it was Bill Brown. There you go. Bill Brown. Alrighty, so if you guys want to do more trivia, just send in a super chat. We'll do that. But let's talk about Mac Jones. We just saw the USA women's team win gold. That was an awesome game, a sick move at the end to win it. Hopefully the U.S. team can win tomorrow and take on Canada. Sunday morning at 7 a.m. It's a complete joke that it's 7 a.m., but it is what it is. And let's talk about Mac Jones here. Also, mailbag coming up here in about 30, 40 minutes or so. Jesse said it. Did I miss Jesse saying it? Oh, no. All right, yeah. Mac Jones, we'll talk about him. Talk about a little Geno Smith as well on the tail half of this show. Let's do it. Let's dive into it. We're going to be talking about two quarterbacks on today's edition of Vikings Now by Chat Sports, that being Mac Jones and Geno Smith. Now, it's looking like a Mac Jones trade, even though over the last couple of months we have heard the 49ers do not want to trade him. Over the last couple of weeks, it's looking like a Mac Jones trade could very much be on the table. It was actually their athletic beat writer, Matt Barrow, saying stars are aligning for Mac Jones to be traded. He kind of hinted at a guy like Sam Darnold after he left the San Francisco 49ers, started with the Vikings, ended up winning a Super Bowl. Maybe a team like, Cardinals, Vikings, Jets, for example, could take a chance on a guy like Mac Jones being the next Sam Darnold. So we'll talk about it here, but I do want to let you guys know we will be at the NFL Combine this week. So do not miss a thing and hit that subscribe button. We're going to have an exclusive Kevin O'Connell press conference here posted right on the channel. So do not miss it. Hit that subscribe button. We'll be asking Kevin O'Connell questions. So hit that subscribe button and also click that notification bell so you guys get notified every single time we post a video. All right, so I do want to kick it back to what Kyle Shanahan had to say about Mac Jones in a recent end-of-the-season press conference, as he says, you always listen to people with trade offers. We're also not getting rid of good players, so I'd be very surprised if Mac wasn't around us next season. So on the 49ers front here, they have all the leverage in this situation. Like, they really should not be too motivated to trade Mac Jones because they have, Brock Purdy still. That's their starter. That's their guy. They're not going to, move off Brock Purdy, obviously, but he has had a lengthy injury history. So they obviously value the backup quarterback position a whole lot, and also considering you're paying Mac Jones next season $4.2 million. That is unbelievable value. Like, you have the best backup quarterback in the league in Mac Jones for $4.2 million. The amount of teams that would take Mac Jones on that contract, I think it would be all 32 NFL teams. That was a steal of a deal. They got him from Jacksonville, signed him last year in free agency. So credit to John Lynch. That was an absolute great contract. So they have all the value here. He's on a one-year deal. They could also, after this season, they could let him walk for a potential comp pick, which normally quarterbacks sign pretty big contracts in free agency, so they could potentially get a third or fourth round comp pick for Mac Jones. So they're going to probably turn down every single trade offer for a third round pick. It's going to take at bare minimum a second round pick to pry Mac from the 49ers. And also, I love this from Mac Jones. He was talking about his time with the San Francisco 49ers, and he says, I really got a PhD in football this year, and I want to keep on getting better. So clearly, his time with the Patriots, his time with the Jaguars didn't compare to what he was seeing with the 49ers. Makes a bunch of sense. I mean, Kyle Shanahan has really been the OG QB whisperer here in the National Football League. But Mac Jones also said this, saying, I feel like they helped me get my swag back. At the end of the day, it's up to you to keep your swag, right? But to have Trent, everybody just backing me every day since OTAs when I first got here, I feel like people had their, opinions about me, or some people didn't know me or hadn't played with me before. And I just showed who I am, and I think they enjoyed playing with me. I enjoyed playing with them, and that's all you can ask. So Mac, obviously a very humble kid, well-spoken, but the one thing I do want to shut down, and I've seen a lot of Vikings fans throw this idea out there, saying, what if Mac Jones could just be our next Sam Darnold? I disagree with that statement. I don't think he would be. I just think he is so limited from just a physical standpoint compared to a guy like Sam Darnold that he wouldn't get there. Like Sam Darnold, 6'3", rocket arm, good mobility. Mac Jones, an extremely accurate, intelligent quarterback, his floor is a lot higher. But in my opinion, Mac Jones, if we brought him in, we would be bringing in another Kirk Cousins. So that era of Vikings football with Kirk Cousins at quarterback, I think that's what we'd be getting with Mac Jones. Could we randomly have a year where we win every one-score game like we did in 2022 and we win 13 games? Yeah, potentially. But I think at the end of the day, it will probably result in a 9-8, 10-7 season with maybe a playoff berth, but you're not going to go on a deep playoff run with a guy like Mac Jones or Kirk Cousins at the helm unless Kevin O'Connell changes his ways. If you tell me Kevin O'Connell is going to turn into Kyle Shanahan running the football and he is going to be downhill and maybe we drafted Jeremiah Love, drafted running back in the second or third round, and we completely change our offensive scheme, then maybe I would have a lot more interest in Mac Jones. But if you want to stick with what you've been doing over the last 4 seasons with KOC and you're just a straight drop back passing team, throwing the ball 35, 40 times a game, I would not have too much interest in Mac Jones because I think it would just be limited, the potential of our offense here in Minnesota. But you guys let me know. Do you want Mac Jones as QB1 next season? Give me a YFS or give me an N for no down below. Keep in mind, it's going to cost a second-round pick. They will not trade him for anything less. You guys let me know your thoughts in the comments section. All right, I do want to tell you guys about today's presenting sponsor, and that is Prize Picks. Now, shoot your shot on Prize Picks and get $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. That's right. Prize Picks is now giving you $50 in lineups when you sign up and play your first $5. Prize Picks makes every dunk, every dime, and every board that much more exciting. So don't miss this chance to get started on America's #1 app for sports picks. And Prize Picks is super simple to play. All you got to do is just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. And if you get your picks right, you could cash in. Pick from all your favorite sports, anything from basketball, baseball, hockey, UFC, soccer, college basketball, tennis, golf, esports, and more. And they also have a new feature called early payouts. If your player gets off to a hot start, you now have the option to cash out those winnings before the game even finishes. So find your community on Prize Picks with the new social feeds feature. You can share Prize Picks with your friends and copy lineups from winners with a single click. Just download the app today, plug in promo code CLNS, get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's promo code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Shout out to Prize Picks for sponsoring today's show. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. All right, Geno Smith, could he be an option for the Minnesota Vikings? You see people always giving their QB predictions for every offseason, and I've been seeing Geno Smith floated out there a lot for Minnesota. I got mixed thoughts on this, but first off, culturally, who Geno is as a guy, absolutely not. Geno was a complete asshole this past season in Las Vegas. He was flipping off fans. He was bad for the locker room. He was just being a dickhead. I would have no interest in terms of Geno being a leader, being a guy that, his teammates look at and be like, oh, yeah, we're going to war for Geno Smith. I don't think he's that guy. So the person he is, he's an asshole. I would not want him on the Minnesota Vikings. Schematically, though, on the field, Geno does make some sense. You want a traditional pocket passer who, if you have a clean pocket and you got weapons around him, who can be a good quarterback, which we have seen going back to his time with Seattle when they had some solid offensive lines. They had DK Metcalf, they had Tyler Lockett, Jackson Smith. They have had good weapons. Geno has played some really good football. I mean, the year before he left, he went 10-7. Even though they missed the playoffs, they went 10-7. He played some clutch football in a lot of those games. So, schematically, with Kevin O'Connell's offense, it would make some sense. But this past season, Geno Smith was just flat out horrible. He was a turnover machine in Las Vegas. Now, if I want to play devil's advocate, Las Vegas probably had one of the worst wide receiver groups in the NFL and probably the worst offensive line in the NFL. They're flat out horrible. But still, 19 touchdowns, 17 picks, QBR of 34.2, not great. But back to Seattle, he was pretty good. It was last year in 2024, a touchdown to interception ratio, not fantastic. But he still threw for 4,300 yards. Incredibly accurate with the football, 70.4% completion percentage. But that 2022 season, maybe Kevin O'Connell thinks he could get him back to what he was in that year where he threw for 30 touchdowns and only had 11 interceptions. But in my opinion, this is just in the same bucket of Kirk Cousins and Mac Jones. I think, and I'll probably do a full show on this, where it's we're talking about different tiers of Vikings quarterback options. If you want kind of the safe route, raise the floor, limit your ceiling, it's Kirk, Mac Jones, and Geno Smith. But Geno would be at the bottom of the barrel out of all those guys because of who he is as a person, who he is in the locker room. Absolutely not. I've talked with our Raiders guy a lot. This guy's an asshole. I would not want him on the football team, would not want him on the Minnesota Vikings. I would have a tough time rooting for this dude on Sundays if he was a quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings. Kirk Cousins, absolutely I could root for Kirk. Mac Jones, absolutely I could root for Mac Jones. I also think the guys in the locker room would rally around those two more than they would Geno Smith. But if you guys made it to the end of today's show, hit me with those skulls down below in the comment section. We'll get on out of here. As always, Skol Vikes. Alrighty. What's going on, Andrew? How you doing? Geno was good in Seattle for a couple of years. There was a reason why they moved on from him, though, because they didn't believe he'd win a Super Bowl. Yeah, 100%. There's a reason why the Vikings moved off Sam Darnold, because they didn't believe he could win a Super Bowl. Funny how that worked out. I remember when Geno got punched in the face by a Jets teammate back in the day. Yeah, Dylan's a Jets fan. We were talking about that when we were, I forget which, were we doing a Geno show? Yeah. Yeah, we were doing a Geno show on our Jets channel, and we were talking about that. Apparently, it was because of a camp payment or like a flight or something, but that was nuts. Broken jaw for Geno Smith off that. But Andrew did send in $1 super chat. We appreciate you, my guy. Let's ask some Vikings trivia here. See what we got. And we also do have a mailbag coming up, so hashtag Vikings. Get those questions in there. Or if you guys want to ask via super chat, that'd be great. All right, how about this? This is a good one. Let's see if you guys are really Vikings fans. All Vikings fans should know this. Vikings Hall of Famer Chris Carter was originally drafted by what team in the 1987 draft? Who was Chris Carter originally drafted by? First one to get it in the live chat gets a shout out. Yeah, damn Ed, you got it. Philadelphia. And then Corey Miller came in saying the Eagles. Shout out to you guys. All right, next super chat we get, we will do some more Vikings trivia. But if you guys do have a question to get on the mailbag, hashtag Vikings or super chat to get up on the show. Would greatly appreciate it. We need more questions in there. So damn mad, Andrew, if you guys could get a question, just use hashtag Vikings, Reed Southern, Jettas, Corey Miller, Connor Vikings, Antonio. All of you guys get a question in there. We greatly appreciate it, and we'll dive into a good old-fashioned mailbag. Haven't done a mailbag in about 3 weeks, so it's going to be a lot of fun. Haven't been live here on the channel in a minute, but we'll be picking up our live shows consistently over the next couple of weeks. Probably get back to doing 2 per week with the offseason starting to ramp up here. So if you guys could get a question in there, hashtag Vikings. You need some more questions before we dive into the mailbag, so I would greatly appreciate it. But I'll tell you what, the scouting combine coming up next week, I am very, very excited. There's going to be so many rumors, so many nuggets that are coming out from there. And we're finally going to get a better answer on what the Vikings are going to do at quarterback. Because right now it's all speculation. And I just think with all these J.J. McCarthy reports coming out there, that it's not going to be him. But what if like Kevin O'Connell, his press conference is like, oh no, J.J. McCarthy's our guy. Like I fully expect him to be QB1. Like that would be something like he's going to get asked at that press conference. Like that is going to be a massive press conference, and we'll have the whole thing posted here on our channel. So make sure you guys are subscribed and tuning in. It's going to be absolutely awesome. So very, very excited for that. But again, get those questions in there. Hashtag Vikings. Reed Southern, appreciate you. Jesse Darby, if you could get a question in there. Lego Fellow, Connor Vikings, and Andrew, get a question in there. Get multiple. We greatly appreciate it. Appreciate you, Andrew. Whatever you guys want to talk about, get a question up on the show. Jesse Darby in the building saying, I'm telling you, Joe Flacco would fit perfect. He still has somewhat of a decent arm and can do them deep routes O'Connell likes. Listen, if they are riding with J.J. McCarthy as QB1, absolutely. Absolutely, I would love for Joe Flacco to be the backup quarterback. Some NBA news. Adam Silver informed the league's 30 general managers on Thursday that the NBA plans to make anti-tanking rule changes for next season. There we go. That's pretty big time. Multiple sources with knowledge of Thursday's GM meeting as well told ESPN that the following concepts has been discussed to curb tanking. First-round picks can be protected, only top 4 or top 14. Lottery odds freeze at the trade deadline or a later date. Wow, that would be something. no longer allowing a team to pick top 4 consecutive years. Teams can't pick top 4 the year after making the conference finals. Lottery odds allocated based on 2-year records. Okay. Lottery extended to include all play-in teams. Flatten out odds for all lottery teams. Okay. We'll see what happens. That's going to be big in the NBA. All right. Appreciate you guys. I think we got enough questions in there. But keep on getting them in. Hashtag Vikings down below. Would greatly, greatly appreciate it. Get those questions in there. Let's dive into this mailbag. You guys could keep on getting those questions in there. Or else we might just not do a mailbag. We're going to need some more questions. Jettas, all of you guys, ask away whatever you guys want to talk about. Jesse Darby saying, I think what the NBA needs to do is get rid of the draft lottery and give it to the first pick for the worst. That would be the worst thing in the world for the NBA. Teams would be tanking like crazy, Jesse. I would. That's a little insane. All right, but get those questions in there. Hashtag Vikings. Need more questions. Appreciate you, Andrew. Shout out to you. Jettas, if you could. Corey Miller, get one in there. Reed Southern, get another one in there. Victor. Dan Mad, get another one. Get those questions to get up on the show. We would appreciate it. I think we just rock and roll. I'll be able to extend it. Appreciate you, Corey. Corey, that's a great question. I love that. Alrighty. Appreciate you guys for getting those questions in there. Let's dive into it. Let's talk about it. What's going on, everybody? It is Patrick Siepman here on today's edition of Vikings Now by Chat Sports, giving you guys our latest mailbag. These are my favorite shows we do every single week here on the channel, where it's just me and you guys chopping it up about our favorite football team, the Minnesota Vikings. Haven't been live in a while, so you guys haven't seen a mailbag here in a couple of weeks, but we will be getting to these two guys more often with the offseason ramping up. Now, Skull Crusher coming in there saying, should the Vikings trade up for Caleb Downs in the NFL draft? Obviously, depends on the asking price, but I would. I have thrown out the trade idea of you package pick number 18, Jordan Addison. You call the Cleveland Browns at pick number 6 if he is falling on draft night, and you offer that to Cleveland. I think that would be more than a fair enough trade offer for both sides. You're giving Cleveland a top 30 wide receiver in the National Football League just to move back 12 spots in the NFL draft. Now, some Vikings fans think that's an overpay. I probably think it's a slight overpay, but also, are you going to pay Jordan Addison? You're probably not. I don't think paying two wide receivers $28, $35 million is the best situation for the Vikings right now. And if you get a blue chip prospect like Caleb Downs with Brian Flores and this defense would no doubt be top 3 in the league next season. You would be having the next Kyle Hamilton. This guy, I forget who compared him to Eric Weddle, but I love that comp as well. I mean, that guy was a 5-time All-Pro in the National Football League. So I would package Jordan Addison, pick number 18, try to move up. If he is falling in the draft, you call up Cleveland and you see if they would do it. But Caleb Downs, I mean, he's a blue chip guy. I think he's the best player in the draft by far. I understand the whole safety, positional value nonsense. Just draft the best player. Caleb Downs is the best player in this draft class, so I would do it 110%. Jetta's 20 coming in here with the next question saying, what do you think about signing both Nakobe Dean and Jamel Dean? Also, what do you think about Zach Wilson? So first off, about Nakobe Dean, I would have some interest in him. I think it would be a really solid scheme fit with Brian Flores, especially that archetype of linebacker, very similar to Eric Wilson. We just saw Eric Wilson have a great year for the Vikings defense. I think Nakobe Dean falls in that bill. Probably will get around 3 for 25. We've seen floated out there for Nakobe Dean. Very athletic, a little undersized, so does struggle in coverage a little bit. But again, when you have that type of linebacker next to a guy like Blake Cashman, who is elite in coverage, also very good against the run, I would like Nakobe Dean. Jamel Dean, absolutely. I just think he's going to be out of the Vikings' price range. Even though the Vikings can get to a point where they have $40-60 million to spend in free agency, I don't know if they're just going to go pay big money for a corner like that. I think they'll sign a corner similar to like the Isaiah Rodgers contract, 2 for 15. But I think the Vikings' big pickup at the cornerback position will come in the first 2 rounds of the NFL draft. Whether that is in the first round and they go out there and they draft Jermod McCoy, maybe Mansour Delane potentially falls to 18. I doubt it. But I think they're going to attack corner in the first round. Or they could attack safety, but one of the first 2 picks for the Vikes will go corner. My thoughts on Zach Wilson. We have Zach Wilson at home, and his name is J.J. McCarthy. Wouldn't have too much interest there. Reed Southern, what's going on? Saying, do you think anybody will be traded this season from the Vikings? Yeah, if I had to put money on it, I would say yeah, especially with the amount of bad contracts the Vikings have. Like, I'm sure Minnesota is going to do the due diligence and call teams about T.J. Hawkinson and just say, hey, would you trade a 6th, 7th-round pick for Hawk potentially? Now, that team would have to take on his contract, so they would most likely say no. But even a guy like Javon Hargrave, I'm sure his likes will call teams about Hargrave being on the block. But I would probably put this as a 50% chance on either side that they make a trade this offseason. I'd probably say yes. I mean, teams also, it could be like a home run trade like the Jordan Addison, Jonathan Grenards of the world, where if you want to elevate Dallas Turner, get him to that full-time starting role, trade Grenard, move off his $22 million, get possibly a 2nd, 3rd-round pick for him, or you just trade Jordan Addison. Maybe you're sick of his off-the-field nonsense. You're not going to pay him next year that $25, $28 million that he's going to want, and you just upgrade Jalen Nailor, the wide receiver, too. Yeah, I think the Vikings will eventually make a trade this offseason. Corey Miller saying, do you think we'll ever get a prominent run game out of O'Connell? I mean, we have no evidence to say yes. You would have thought this past season. Like, that was probably the most frustrating part of this past year. Like, we can talk about the quarterback play. We can talk about J.J. McCarthy. We can talk even about the short yardage play calling for Kevin O'Connell, the injuries. Like, there was a lot that went wrong this past season. But the one thing that drove me crazy, where the hell was the run game? I mean, you have – just think about how simple this is. You have J.J. McCarthy, who is coming off a season-ending knee injury, his first year starting, coming from Michigan, where what did Michigan do so well? They ran the football. How do you make a quarterback's life easier? You run the football. And then seeing Sam Darnold, NFC Championship game, they're running all over the Rams. Super Bowl, their running back won Super Bowl MVP in Kenneth Walker. Like, everything went wrong this season, but the one thing that bothered me the most was, like, I was going into it saying this is the year KOC finally gets a run game. This is the year that he stays more committed to the run, and he didn't. And a lot of the times he left his quarterbacks out to the dry. Even, another little rant here, even in Seattle, you have Max Brosmer, a true UDFA, starting at quarterback, and you threw the ball 39 times that game. What the hell are you doing? Why would you do that? It's Max Brosmer going against the Seahawks defense on the road when your own defense held Seattle to under 20 points. Like, you had a chance to go win that football game if you have a good run game. So I think if I had to say yes or no to that, I would probably say no, because if there was any year we were going to do it, it would have been last. But I will say Frank Smith, coming from the Dolphins as assistant head coach, he's got a really good run game history, so maybe that improves it somewhat. But Andrew coming in saying, how many free agents from the outside do you think we bring in this offseason? We obviously have to clear up cap space to make it happen. If I had to put a number on it, I don't know. I mean, the Vikings signed, 7 free agents last year? Fries, Kelly, Hargrave, Allen, Isaiah Rodgers. That was like the big 5. Then you had like the on the margin guys like the Jeff Okudas. This year I'd probably say a solid, 2 or 3. I don't think it's going to be a lot. I mean, even if they clear up a bunch of money, you're eventually going to get to a point where it's like, all right, like if you do everything, if you make all the restructures, you cut all the players that are out there that could be cut, you're only going to be able to get to $40 or $60 million. So I'd probably say about 2 to 3. But again, it comes down to if the Vikings end up making all of these moves. But hey, a huge topic of conversation this offseason is the quarterback position. But you guys let me know, who do you not want as QB1 next season? Like, who's the guy taking snaps week 1 where you're like, I'm not watching this football team anymore. I'm turning the Vikings off. For me, it would be Geno Smith. Even if it's Mac Jones, Kirk Cousins, okay, I could get into it. Even if it's freaking Jimmy Garoppolo, I could buy into that more than I could to Geno Smith. Geno, I would be absolutely out on. You guys let me know. Who do you not want as quarterback one next season? We'll get to more of you guys' questions here in a second, but we do have our St. Patrick's Day merch live right now. Chatsports.com/VikingsGreen. Hit that link in the comments section and description of today's show. Sweet design. You guys can obviously rock the green one on St. Patrick's Day, but you guys can rock this black one all year long. Love the design. Shout out to our graphics team for that. Just hit that link, chatsports.com/VikingsGreen. Right now, they're going for $29.99. So take advantage of that deal. Order it right now so it gets there before St. Patrick's Day. Love the green look, love the black look, and trust me, you guys will too. Also, very comfortable T-shirts as well, and you guys also get to support Chat Sports here. Second piece of merch that we ever came out with, so I would greatly, greatly appreciate it. Connor Vikings, what's going on? Saying, are the Vikings going to pay Jalen Redmond this offseason? Man, I hope so. That is the one move I think the Vikings should, like, if you're doing anything, obviously quarterback's number one. That second move has to be giving Jalen Redmond that extension. Listen, you have his rights. You could technically have him play on a vet minimum contract next season. I would pay him just a 4-year deal, tack on 2 void years, push that money down the line, still give yourself the ability to keep his cap hit low in 2026. But you lock him up this offseason, because if he replicates what he did in 2025 and 2026, you're going to probably have to pay him top of the league money at the defensive tackle spot. So, yeah, absolutely. Pay Jalen Redmond whatever he wants. Horius coming in saying, do you think we would have won the Super Bowl last year if we had a good running game? No, absolutely not. If you had a good running game, you're probably in the playoffs. Even with the quarterback play you had. I mean, you went 9-8, and you had the second worst quarterback play in the league, and you had no run game. But you're not winning a Super Bowl. You're not winning a playoff game with J.J. McCarthy or Max Brosmer playing the way they did. Now, do they play better with a good run game? Absolutely. Winning a Super Bowl, though, no. I thought this question was going to go, do you think we would have won a Super Bowl last year with Sam Darnold? And I would have said no to that, too. You just didn't have a run game. It's like having a bullpen in the MLB. You cannot win Super Bowls if you can't run the football. That's why Kevin O'Connell, he's great. Everybody in the NFL thinks he's great. KOC. Everybody loves KOC except for Vikings fans. He's got to get a run game this next year, or else the Vikings, it just limits what you can do. Reed Southern saying, do you think we could draft a tight end or just roll with Josh Oliver? If you do cut TJ Hawkinson, you need to bring in a tight end. Absolutely. You could not just have Josh Oliver beat the tight end one for this football team, because, first off, multiple tight end sets are the meta in the NFL right now. You need 2 good tight ends. Like, I think when you're building a roster, I think probably 5 years ago, you're saying, all right, it would be nice to have a good backup tight end. In my opinion, it is a need. Like, Josh Oliver, top 5 run blocking tight end in the league. I think he's a high-end tight end, too. I mean, you're paying him $8 million, so he should be. But if you lose TJ Hawkinson, maybe you draft a guy, maybe you pay somebody in free agency, but you're going to have to bring in another tight end there, because you can't just roll out with Josh Oliver and Gavin Bartholomew. I mean, that would be one of the worst tight end rooms in the NFL for next season. Andrew, what's going on? Saying, I feel like with all these articles about JJ and the analytics breaking down his struggles, KOC is going to be asked a lot about it at the Combine next week. Absolutely. Especially the Alec Lewis report coming out that KOC had to apparently limit his playbook in terms of getting rid of the over the middle of the field throws. KOC is going to be asked about that. At least he should be asked about that. The number one question, though, that I'm asking Kevin O'Connell, and I'm praying our guys here at Chat Sports are given the ability to do so, is, has your evaluation of J.J. McCarthy changed since the 2024 NFL Draft? The obvious answer to that is yes, but I just want to hear what he says. If he says no, I still have full faith in J.J. McCarthy and him getting to that mountaintop and getting to the best version of himself. I think that would be pretty telling. But also KOC, I can't see him ripping McCarthy during this press conference like he was during the year. I think he's going to be ultra positive. I bet you it's going to be a typical offseason Kevin O'Connell press conferences. Everything's good. It is all positive. There are no problems in the world. We are all fine. J.J. McCarthy is the best quarterback in the world. I mean, it's just how it's kind of been. Even like when they brought in Darnold, like he ended up being right about Darnold, but it was just all positivity during the offseason from O'Connell. So we'll see if that changes at the combine. But no, Andrew, I'm with you. I absolutely can't wait for it. Jed is saying, what do you think about trading Gernard to the Titans and taking a running back at 35? 35, good for both sides. Yeah, I mean, if you got the 35th pick, I don't know if I'd want them to take a running back. If it's Gernard for 35, I'd probably lean towards yes. I'd probably, if I'm running the Vikings, that's a trade you probably have a 2-hour conversation about. Got Gernard for the 35th pick. I think that's probably a yes. I mean, that's damn near a first-round pick for Jonathan Gernard. Jonathan Gernard's great. I mean, fantastic for the Vikings defense, but you have Dallas Turner there. You still have Van Ginkel. I mean, you still have an elite edge duo. If you get the 35th pick, like maybe you can get another safety. Maybe you can get another corner. But in terms of a running back, I would probably say no on drafting one at 35. Now, we appreciate all of you guys for tuning in. If you guys watch this entire mailbag, just hit me with those SKOLs down below in the comment section. We'll get on out of here. As always, let's go Vikes. Alrighty, shout out to Andrew coming in there with a couple super chats. We'll ask you guys one more Vikings trivia question as Rob Jigga's in the building, then we'll get on out of here. Let's see. All right, here's a good one. What Vikings cornerback had a 100-yard interception return for a touchdown in 2017? Bonus points if you know the team they were playing. We had a 1940s offense last year. Yes and no. Like if we had a 1940s offense, like we would be running the ball a lot more. Yeah, Jets had a 1940s offense. It was inside zone and hitch routes. It was disgusting. Corey Miller said Xavier Rhodes. Correct. What team was that against? Do you remember that? I remember that play at the back of my hand. Do you remember? Pat, who's better, Nailor or Alec Pierce? Alec Pierce is better. All right, if you guys don't know the team, it's Arizona Cardinals. It was sweet. But hey, we're going to get on out of here. We appreciate all of you guys for tuning in today. Yeah, we'll be back live on the channel probably 2 times next week. Going to want to start getting these live shows going again. Have not been live on the channel in almost 3 weeks here. Yeah, the NBA trade deadline. I was taking some PTO last week, but we'll be back. Multiple live shows per week starting up soon. So tune in then. We'll see you guys next time. Let's go Vikes.